Right, here we go. So, delighted to welcome our Dorset Lives guest into the studio today. We've spoken to many authors in this slot who've written fiction, sometimes based in this county. I would say that very few have the illustrious career of my next guest, Nick Fisher, who has written for TV shows like Holby City and Casualty and EastEnders. He's starred in radio programmes and television programmes about fishing. He's written books about cooking with fish. He's written now his first novel, which it has a fishing theme to it, but mostly it's a tale of crime and drugs and greed, all set in the Weymouth crab fishing community. And I'm pleased to say, as I say, that he joins me in the studio now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Lovely to be here.
I've been mired, wrapped up in potluck for the last couple of weeks.
Have you?
Congratulations on it, first of all.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. How was the leap into, genuine fiction?
It was actually for me, a very relaxing thing to write. I normally write for TV, and TV scripts, by their whole nature, are a very technical document. Basically, you're writing a manual for somebody to shoot an episode. So everything, and also, it's a very expensive medium. So everything has to be double-checked, and everything has to work so finely. The actors need to know what they're doing, the director needs to know what they're doing, the floor needs to know how the production's working.
So does that mean that sometimes prevents you taking the flight of fancies that you could take in a book like this? So you can say the action happens on a fishing trawler out in the Weymouth Bay or wherever, and you don't have to worry about how expensive that's going to be to film.
Exactly. The first thing any producer is going to say when they read this book is, you can't film at sea. How much is this going to cost?
Yeah.
So, exactly, you have complete freedom. And also I had complete freedom of story. I mean, I was really writing... It sounds a bit...
Do it anyway.
It's just, I was writing for myself, really. I wasn't taking on a job, a commission to service somebody else's show. I was just writing a book, which, as you put it, was a kind of flight of fantasy.
Potluck is out on the 1st of June. Do you want to just explain where we are with this one, with Matty, with Adrian, with Tim, with all these characters?
Well, it starts off with two brothers that run a crab fishing boat. And I think a lot of people have an image of what commercial fishermen do, but it's quite a romantic image. Everybody's seen a dressed crab, but not many people actually know how that dressed crab gets onto your plate. And these guys don't have a particularly fun life. They're not making a lot of money. They hate each other. They hate the boat. Although they're in a beautiful location, half the time there's southwesterlies blowing, sevens from in their face. So it's about the hardship of the life. But then something happens that completely throws their existence on its head.
Many things that I liked about it. I think the first thing that I noticed was the dialogue, and this possibly comes from the TV writing, but it's natural and it's gritty. I mean, it is salty as you might expect when you're talking about crabfishers.
Thank you. I love books with dialogue. I find books that have lots of dialogue rather than great big chunks of prose crack along.
Well, it's that show don't tell attitude as well. Sorry, yeah,
totally.
Show don't tell.
Show don't totally, and that is a TV film stage writing thing where it's the words that come out of people's mouths rather than lots of long passages about description that tell your story. And
the grittiness of it as well. It put me in mind of, and you're going to love this, Charles Bukowski, or I guess particularly considering the fact that we are in a sort of gritty part of Britain here. I've thought about Trainspotting an awful lot because you have these characters who are slightly unlikable, and your job as the person behind them, as the puppet master, is to try and keep the reader interested in what they're doing and what's happening to them, in spite of the fact that you might think, I'm not sure I'm very much of a fan of this Matty character.
You see, that's another thing, Steve. That's a really good point, is that, if you write, like I do, primetime TV a lot of the time, there are a lot of characters you can't have. Your producer or your series producer is going to go, oh, no, the public's not going to like that, the viewer's not going to like that. Whereas the challenge of what you just said, of having somebody on the face of it, is really quite unpleasant, but actually, and maybe some of the things they do are quite unpleasant, but actually making them fascinating, making you want to know more, even though there's something kind of a little bit about them. Just wanting to know what's going to happen next.
I find it hard to believe that. I wonder how much research kind of goes into this, because there's lovely little touches. One thing that stuck out to me was that the character didn't put on old aftershave. He put on 10-year-old Kuros. And I'm thinking that your successful life writing TV dramas, you're so far away from 10-year-old Kuros that you must have had to go out and go, right, what is this guy? Who is this person?
I had a very dark and murky past, believe you me.
Often doused in that kind of stuff.
I wish.
Do
far
you,
worse.
Having said that you wrote it primarily for yourself, do you have a sense of who the audience is for this, who you expect to enjoy this book?
Well, I've given it to various people. Various people have read it. Some people come back and say this is a very masculine book, and I it exists in a very masculine world, and as you've said, a very gritty world, and one in which there's a lot of detail about quite masculine things like going out to sea and catching fish and pulling crab pots. But actually, the heroes of this story are the women. You'll know yourself, as you read to the end, that it's the women that come out on top. So I would kind of dispute that. But at the same time, people sometimes say that's a very masculine thing, as if there's something wrong in that.
Yeah.
And I actually, I've kind of written a book that I'd like to read, if that makes sense. And, I write a lot of television that's for a very wide audience because it goes out at 8 o'clock at night. It's pre-Watershed. It has to appeal to everyone, and it has to be quite anodyne in many ways. This isn't.
I noticed in the first couple of pages that there were 2 or 3 swear words. I thought, he's having fun writing this. He's gonna use some.
Well, have you spent any time on a crab boat?
Well, exactly. With radio studios behind the scenes as well, to be honest. It's called Potluck. It's out on the 1st of June. If you like Ernest Hemingway, if you like Charles Bukowski, as I say, if you like Irving Welsh, then you are probably going to enjoy this one. Nick, it's very lovely to see you. Thank you very much for coming in.
It's a complete pleasure.
We'll look forward to novel number 2.
Thank you.
Nick Fisher, our Dorset Lives guest this Friday morning.